Everybody, it's Mom to Wife of One, and welcome back to my channel. As you can see from the title below, we are going to be discussing Married at First Sight, Season 14, Episode 9. This is the episode where all the couples were charged with the task of planning a date night for each other, and they also had a questionnaire they had to answer about love, being in love, how do you know you're in love, and that sort of thing. So normally I talk about the semi-boring couples first, and then I kind of hide the juicier couples in the middle. But Olajuwon pissed me off so much that we're going to talk about Olajuwon and Katina. My biggest gripe with Olajuwon is that he has an idea in his mind of what a wife is, what a wife should be, how a wife should act. I want my wife to cook often from scratch. I want her to do this, and this, and she needs to match my energy. The problem with that is you can have an idea all day long about what you want and don't want, but you forget that the person that you are matched with, especially because you don't get a chance to meet them ahead of time, you're meeting them at the altar. So this person that you're being matched with, there's no guarantee she's going to have all those things. And instead of molding her to fit that ideal of what you think you want, maybe you should talk to her about what kind of wife she wants to be. And you can kind of meet in the middle. And also, while you're coming with your own ideas of what a marriage should be, she's coming with her own ideas, and they may not match up. So that means you need to talk to her and come to some kind of middle ground for both of you. And also, looking for someone to match your energy is through the freaking roof. If somebody matched your energy, it would be like just combustible all the time. You don't need that. What should happen is if you're at a 20 and Katina is at a 10, y'all need to work together to become a 15. She needs to come up a little bit. You can come down a little bit, but it has to be both of you working to make sure that this marriage works, to make sure you guys are giving each other what you need. The way Olajuwon talked to her in this episode was extremely problematic. He was very condescending. He talked down to her like she was a child. And basically, the crux of what he said was, I don't think you're measuring up as a wife or as a woman. And if you don't get it together, I don't know what we're doing. That's basically what he told her. And also, he kept saying, like, we don't have enough time, and we don't have enough time for you to get this together. Like, time is running out, which bothers me because, yes, there's such a thing as decision day. Yes, they have at the 8-week mark to figure out if they want to stay married or get a divorce. But I feel like focusing on decision day isn't necessarily the right move because you're getting married not to be married for 8 weeks. You got married to be married for the rest of your life. So that means you need to start training your mind to look at it that way. So it's not that you're running out of time. You're getting closer to decision day. But if you're already determined that you want to be a married person, don't look at that date as everything has to be perfect by that day, because it doesn't. There's still so many things you guys have to learn about each other. There's still so many hurdles you're going to have to cross. Like, don't look at it that way. So that really bothered me a lot. And she crumpled on camera. She shrunk into herself. And she mentioned earlier in the episode that she had an ex-boyfriend who was very verbally abusive to her. And whenever she would cry, he would mock her tears. And that caused her to only want to cry in private now. And I hated that Olajuwon tried to make her feel bad for not crying. Like, yo, you don't cry, though. That's, like, weird. Like, you didn't cry at the wedding. You didn't cry here. And I was like, everybody don't cry at their freaking wedding. That's not a common thing. And it's not... I was really upset by that. And for him to turn around and not be verbally abusive to her, he actually made her break down in some tears in front of him. And I know she probably hated that as much as she hated the things that was coming out of his mouth, because you made her feel like she was less than and she didn't deserve that. And then also, all the couples had to plan a date for each other, and he planned a cooking class. And he's like, oh, it's because she loves seafood. No, it wasn't. It was because you wanted to drill it in her head that she needs to learn how to cook more things for you. That's why you took her to a cooking class. That still was not about her. That was all about you. And then he complained about, for their housewarming, how she had her friends bring food, but he went and bought chicken. And he was like, I just need someone to match my effort. Like, I feel like there's no effort there. And it's like, if I tell my husband, I am flying us to Puerto Rico, and I purchase the plane tickets and we go to Puerto Rico. Did I fly the plane myself? No, I did not. Did I put gas in the plane? No, I did not. Did I clean the airplane? No, I did not. But guess what? I made sure we got there. So the end result is that we got to where we're supposed to go. At the housewarming, she had her friends bring food. Did she cook the food? No, she did not. Did she order the food herself? No, she did not. But you know what she did? She made sure there was food at the housewarming party. That's all that matters. And the fact that he's focused on the wrong things is not that he's focused on not just, oh, I got the result I needed, but I need to get the result that I want, but the way that I want it. No, that's not the way this works. You're not in this marriage by yourself at all. He's really acting like his opinion is the only one that matters, like what he's saying is the only truth in the marriage. And it was really insulting to watch. It was painful to watch. And I felt for her a lot in that moment. He needs to start listening better. He definitely needs to work on his delivery, and hopefully she needs to find her voice and tell him exactly how he's making her feel, and really kind of lay it down for him that I'm not going to be this perfect model that you've had in your head of what a wife is supposed to be. And how can you sit up here and tell me what you think a wife should be? You've never even had a girlfriend. So how are you going to determine what the heck a wife is supposed to do? You've never had a steady relationship. What the heck makes you an authority on this? He really just pissed me off. I was so annoyed with him, and I was so disappointed in him, and I felt for her. So things can definitely improve between them, but it's going to take a lot. It's really going to take a lot. Unfortunately, Dr. Viviana is meeting with all the couples next week, so hopefully that helps, but I don't know. Next, I want to talk about Noi and Steve. Nothing really exciting happened with them. They love each other. Yay, it's great. I do think that Noi is very much living in a fantasy world. She's like living in her own Disney movie. She wants everything to be cupcakes and roses and moonlight and fairy godmothers. And Steve's a lot more logical and analytical, which I appreciate. But I think that they'll definitely pull from each other in that area. They still have some things that need to be resolved, obviously. But this episode, nothing big happened. Everything seemed to be kind of copacetic. I did get annoyed when all the girls got together and they got their nails and their toes done. And Noi was talking about the noodle incident and how she left the house and she was gone for 24 hours. And when she came back and Steve was talking to her, she was like, his voice cracked. And all I thought was, oh my gosh, he loves me. And I was like, that's the first thing that came to your mind? Not, oh, I was so immature. I shouldn't have done that. I should have talked to him. I can't believe I did that. The fact that your mind just went to, oh, he loves me. I was like, girl, that's all you care about? And when they were having a discussion about love and being in love, he mentioned that he had been in love several times. And she's like, it's a little concerning that he's been in love so many times, but yet he's not ready to say, I love you to me. I'm like, okay, but he's probably was with those women for a minute, though. He's been with you for 3 weeks. You're asking for a lot. And he did eventually tell her, but I was like, I mean, why are you rushing this man to tell you he loves you? It's been all of three freaking weeks. 3 weeks of marriage and 3 weeks of knowing each other. So I think her mind, she's just focused on the wrong thing in my head. But I mean, nothing happened to them, so I think they're okay. Michael and Jasmina. Jasmina irritated me, and I wanted to hug Michael. Michael sat down with her. He did a little picnic in the park with her, which was really cute, with her and her doggy, Mr. Feeney. Shout out to Boy Meets World. And he was talking to her. He asked her a very perfectly valid question. What is the best way for me to communicate with you? And her answer, I thought, was so, I'm going to say awful. Not awful. It was just, she made it seem like he was dumb for asking the question. Like, well, no, common sense means you just talk to me. Just don't talk at me. Like, it's basic conversation. You should know that basically at your age, you should know how to talk to me, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, hold up. And I agree with him on this because let me tell you something. My husband, the way he grew up, he and his mother and his siblings and his dad, when they talk to each other, their voices get a little loud. They're cursing. That's just the way they talk. It's a comfortable environment. Nobody's mad at each other, but that's the way they communicate. But when he talks to me, I don't like anybody raising their voice at me, and I don't like to be cursed at. So he doesn't do that with me. So he understands that when, depending on who you're talking to, you may have to change the way you're talking. And that's basically what Michael told her. So I thought it was very unfair that she didn't get that. And I was completely on his side. And then when he was getting visibly frustrated, the inflection in his voice didn't change. He wasn't like, oh, I can't believe, he didn't do any of that. He was just like, you could tell visibly he was getting frustrated because he felt like he wasn't getting anywhere in the conversation. And she's like, look, calm down because you're getting frustrated. Just calm down. Just and basically make it seem like he's at a 10. And I'm like, he's chilled this whole time. And if you're already chilled and somebody tells you to calm down in that way, you're like, but I'm not, but what? I'm not doing anything. And it made me think that all those times she talked to him about his tone of voice and him getting loud on her, if this was her version of that, I'm like, he didn't do anything. He didn't get loud. He had no attitude. He didn't snap at you. His voice was the same the whole time. So I was like, why is she tripping? Thought that was kind of weird. And then later on, she created this little gym in their house, which was really cute. And each little workout area had to do with a part of the relationship they need to work on. So one part was vulnerability, and there's a lot of stretching involved. And she asked him to talk to her about his brother passing away. Because earlier, either that day or that week, was the anniversary of his brother's death, and he had gone to the grave site, and he kind of mentioned that a little bit. And she was like, you've never really talked about it, but I know you've lost a lot of people in your life, so talk to me about it. And he told her this story, and it was like he was right back there, and he broke down crying, and I just wanted to hug him and make it all go away. And she wiped his tears with her hand, and she had her hand on his leg, and it felt like a huge moment for the two of them, because his whole thing is that he knows he needs to be more vulnerable with her. And in her mind, if you're more vulnerable, that's going to lead us to basically this breakthrough. And I thought it was just a beautiful moment, but it was interesting because he did tell her, when I signed up for this experiment, I promised myself that I would be vulnerable from day one. You can't make that kind of promise. Vulnerability comes with trust. You're not going to trust this person on day one. You're just meeting them. Yes, they're your wife now. You don't know her. You and Jasmina still get to know each other. So vulnerability is something that has to grow. I think there was a great step in him becoming vulnerable with her, becoming more comfortable with her, and her creating a safe space for him to cry, for him to talk about what's going on. I thought it was a great pivotal moment. But my fear is that Jasmina is very similar to Olajuwon and very similar to Lindsey, and that I'm going to focus on what you need to work on, but I'm not at all going to think about what I could possibly work on. She's not as brash and as bold with that as Lindsey and Olajuwon are, but I definitely feel like she's not doing all she could do either, and I don't think she even sees where she could improve. So I feel like there is hope there, but Michael, he's asking the right questions in terms of what he needs to do, but he needs to kind of flip it on her and let her know what he needs from her as well. And haven't really seen that happen yet, but I'm really hoping that they'll get there at some point. Lindsey and Mark. Again, Lindsey is like Olajuwon, where her energy is like through the roof. Though I have seen a lot of tame moments from her, which I appreciate. But when she and Mark were having their conversation, she said her piece, he said his piece. I feel like he was listening to her and her concerns. She was just like, no, and just kind of overlapped all the stuff that he said and made it seem like, well, no, what you're saying is wrong. That's not the problem. The problem is you not appreciating me. And it's like, you can't denounce his problems like that. If you don't want your problems denounced, if you don't want him to just dismiss your stuff like it ain't no big thing, you can't do the same to him. Now, granted, I can understand where she's coming from. She's like, I feel like you only focus on the negative, and I feel like you don't appreciate the things that I've done to help you, because maybe you're not used to somebody caring for you like that. So I feel like you don't even like me sometimes, because whenever we have a discussion, it's all about what I'm doing wrong. Now, granted, I think that's a valid complaint or concern. Nobody wants to feel that way. But at the same token, okay, you're saying that to him. He's absorbing that and he's listening to you. And he's like, okay, I need to do better in that area. However, Lindsey, let me tell you how I feel when you do blah, 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 blah. That just kind of goes in one ear and out the other. And I think that is unfair. Completely unfair. And, she got what she wanted in the end. She wanted an apology from him. And he apologized to her. He told her exactly what he liked about her. And it made her feel good, it made her feel better, but she still didn't apologize. All those nasty, vile things she said last week, granted, he may not have heard all of them because she was in the bathroom, but she was like talking about, his balls are small and he's never made me come, and you're only making $60,000 a year, and you're this and you're that and that and that and that. And it's like, you didn't think that any of that deserved an apology. You don't think you went off the rail at all. That's a problem. She's not holding herself accountable. Neither is Jasmina. Neither is Olajuwon. And even to some extent, neither is Noi. And it's infuriating. And I'm sure as their spouses, at some point they're going to snap. And I'm like, you know what? Yes, I need to work on things. Excuse me. Yes, I'm not perfect. However, there's so many things you need to work on too. I feel like Michael hasn't really communicated that. I feel like Katina maybe has communicated that in private. I don't think she's done it on camera so much. But I feel like Olajuwon not put her in a corner necessarily, but him lashing out at her in that way, in such a vicious way at that, I feel like now she's gonna be like, okay, you want to put all this stuff out there? Okay, let's do this. Because when Dr. Viviana comes to visit them all next week, you see her crying again and talking more in detail about how he made her feel. I don't know. I don't know. At this rate, I think Noi and Steve are gonna be okay. I think they'll make it. Lindsey and Mark, I think they can make it. I think they really are what each other needs. I think Mark is doing an okay job of allowing someone else to care for him, and it takes some of this burden off of him. I think Lindsey's perfect for that. I feel like Mark's job in her life is to somewhat bring her down a little bit. I don't think he's been successful in that as of yet, but it's a possibility that they can make that work, maybe. Because I actually do like them together, and I love the fact that she said, she's like, I came in at 100%. Right now I'm at 1%. And he's like, you know what? We can build off 1% because it's not zero. And I like that he's still trying to work on things. And I feel like she's trying to work on things as well. They can be okay. They just both need to put forth that effort. Olajuwon and Katina, I don't know. Only reason I'm not saying no completely, I don't think Katina has really sat down and talked to him about how he is not measuring up, so to speak. The only time she really said anything is about the fact that his cuddle game is weak. And it's like, okay, well, that's a small thing. What about the bigger things? I feel like she keeps that stuff off camera purposely, but I don't think they've had those really in-depth conversations about the kind of husband she needs or thinks that she needs and the kind of marriage that she wants. They both need to kind of sit down and talk about that, like maybe write down what I think marriage should be and what I think my husband should be, and he should do the same thing for a wife. And then they can swap notes, look at their notes, and then talk about it together. Like, okay, I see we have these things in common. These things are a little different, so let's talk about it. How can we compromise on these things? I think maybe that could possibly help, but I don't know yet if Olajuwon is the kind of person who's actually going to listen and take those things under advisement. The way he was speaking last night, he was speaking like what he had to say and what he thought was the only truth. Like, there's no way she's going to be able to dispute this. She's not doing this. She's not doing this. She's not doing that. And that bothered me more than anything, because a lot of people who speak that way aren't willing to hear another side of the story. They're not willing to entertain any other possibilities or any other alternatives. And I don't know if he's like that. I'm definitely just assuming right now. But I don't think it bodes very well for them at all. For Michael and Jasmine, it's the same thing. Like, Michael needs to tell her what he needs. She needs to be able to listen, and she needs to actually reciprocate and be like, okay, you're trying, and I can see that you're trying, so let me try and, say some stuff to you too. I think that the next couple to be intimate is definitely Noi and Steve, if they haven't already. I feel like after they both exchanged I love yous, they went home and had sex for the first time. That's my assumption. I can clearly tell that Katina and Olajuwon have not had sex, or Michael and Jasmina. Like, Michael and Jasmina, barely kiss, they barely touch. I don't see a lot of intimacy between them, and I think that's going to come out more with Dr. Viviana next week. I don't think it's going to be pretty, but all the couples, every couple technically has a shot, except for Liz and Chris. Oh, that's the other thing. We've seen other seasons where the couple has called it quits, or they're kind of on the outs, kind of not, but we still see them show up. I was so happy that there was no mention of Alyssa and Chris's episode, and we did not see them. Now, maybe we'll see them at some other point, maybe not together. Like maybe all the girls will get together and Alyssa will come visit, or Chris will hook up with one of the guys just for funsies. Maybe, and I'd be okay with like seeing one or the other. But I was so happy that they didn't force them to be on last night's show. But we actually had a break from that, so I was happy about that. But I don't know. Outside of them, I think every couple definitely has a shot of staying together and having a healthy marriage. But it takes you being comfortable with someone putting a mirror up to your face. It takes you being willing to make some changes here or there. It takes you admitting to being wrong. That is a hard thing to do, super hard. And it doesn't matter how many relationships you've been in the past. It is never easy to admit that you are wrong, or that your ideals are wrong, or that you're living in a fantasy world, or whatever. That is a very hard thing to do. But marriage, it is so freaking key to do that. Because you could be doing something all your life in all these other relationships, and it may work for you. But if it wasn't a marriage, and it wasn't this marriage to this specific person, that doesn't mean anything. So I don't know. I will say last night I was most disappointed by Olajuwon. He disappointed me the most because I've been giving him props the past couple weeks. Like, oh, he's impressing me. He's better than I thought he was. And it's like, you're not. And granted, maybe it was just this episode and because he was frustrated or whatever, but I was like, nah. I felt so, I don't say I felt bad, but I wanted Katina to speak up so bad. I wanted her to curse him out. And I felt like she really restrained herself from doing so. He visibly, like we physically could see him crushing her freaking spirit on camera. That is a hard thing to witness and a hard thing to really come to grips with. And I want better for her. And I'm not saying that he's not even the best that he could be for her. I think that he's being what he thinks he's supposed to be. But he is not taking what she needs or wants into consideration. He's already decided before he met who his wife was going to be. He already decided what a husband looks like, what a wife looks like, what a marriage looks like. He already figured that out. And it didn't matter who he was matched up with. That person needs to fit into what he's already designed in his head. And that is not fair. But needless to say, again, everyone has a shot of getting better. It's just a matter of will they actually do the work that it takes. So that's my review and recap. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure you comment below. Make sure you like and share and subscribe and click the notification bell and do all those wonderful things. Comment with me down below about last night's episode. What did you guys think about Olajuwon and Katina? What did you guys think about Steve telling Noi that he loves her after 3 weeks? Like, do you think it's genuine? Do you think he felt pressure to do it? What do you guys think about Michael and Jasmina and that conversation they had in the park? Like, how did you guys view that conversation? And Lindsey and Mark, do you guys think that they need to even continue to work on their marriage? Let me know your feelings, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Peace.